Be here now.
Yesterday I went out to Bastra prison. It's about a half an hour from here. And there I was with maybe 100, 150 people, just like us, except they're in prison. Most of them are in prison for drug charges. Many of them serving 8 or 10 years for little amounts of acid. Can you imagine a culture? I mean, just think about all the games that represents. Now, I can meet with them and I can see inmates in a correctional facility, nice man that comes to teach Dharma. But it's going to be a cold afternoon. What I see is the beloved in its many forms. Are you here? I'm here. What's your trip about? What's my trip about? Here we are. What'll we do together? And we end up hugging and in love. And what I've learned about serving is that my way of helping another human being, besides what I can do in terms of fundraising and food and blindness surgery and all that, which is the stuff of it, but behind it, what I can do is keep working to keep my channels open so that I can be an environment where another person can do what they need to do. And if they want to come up for air, they can. And if they don't, I don't judge them. See, there's a tendency when you see we're all God. Don't you see we're all God, damn it? Why don't you see that? I realize that I have no understanding of the mystery of why another human being is the way they are. But I don't think it's an error. In fact, I don't think there are any errors in the whole system. Because I think it's an exquisitely articulated, unfolding, lawful progression, including our yearning to awaken and all of our metaphors and beliefs and models and all of it. So in the mid-'70s, this lack of integrity was bugging me. But it was interesting that I couldn't work in many areas in the culture because I was a bad guy, since I'd been thrown out of Harvard for drugs and I was considered a bad guy. Nobody's going to let their children near me, certainly. So I couldn't work in education. So the only groups I could work with were people that were dying or people in prison. Those were sort of rejects from the society. They didn't want much to do with them. So in '74, I started a foundation, and we started the Dying Project, euphemistically called, and the Prison Ashram Project. In both of those situations, the idea was exactly the same. Take a hospice for AIDS patients like the one I've just been working on. Once you and I understand that fire and water are different, and we want to become free, not just get high, we start to look at what it is that's catching us, and we want to work with that as hard as we can to get free of it. Is that clear? You got that one? The thing that is deepest in the thing that catches us is the fear of death. The trap is our separateness. The root fear of separateness is the fear of annihilation of that separateness. So death is the deepest fear of the separate species. So once you understand that, instead of pushing death away, you want to start to have commerce with it. And it's incredible grace when you have the opportunity to hang out with people that are dying. Because it takes you to the edge. Takes you right to the edge of your game. And I'll tell you, I started doing that in the mid-'60s, and I'm doing it today. And today it's as exciting and challenging and awakening and demanding and freeing as it was then. Because when you're with somebody that is facing death, it's a moment for truth. It's a moment when a lot of the veils fall apart, the will falls apart, there's an opening, there's a moment of opening when you can suddenly meet a person behind the veil of that which dies. Are you here? I'm here. Far out. What are you doing these days? Well, I'm dying. So. Is it interesting? Pretty, yeah. And what has made it most interesting, if I'll take you into the innermost places of my own life, is that as I've let my heart open, I've gotten so addicted to having my heart open, to being in love with people, that when it closes down, there's incredible pain. I feel pain, my own heart closing. The heart closing is like diving from air into water. It's thick, and it immediately gets me into my mechanisms to open it again, all my spiritual practices. And so I look at somebody, and if you flip your channels of consciousness, you see another human being, and they are so incredibly beautiful. Even the bad ones. They are these souls that are caught in an unfolding web of law, of karmic law, and you just feel the poignancy and the beauty of them. It used to be when I'd find one I really didn't like, it would really close my heart, I'd take a picture of that person and put them on my holy table. I used to work with Caspar Weinberger. And I'd have Buddha and Christ and Mary and Anandamayi Ma and Caspar Weinberger. And the morning I'd light he was the Secretary of Defense under Reagan. And I'd light my incense and I'd say, good morning, Christ. Good morning, Buddha. Good morning, Maharaji. Good morning, Mary. Hello, Caspar. And then I'd see how far I had to go yet. That I was getting caught in detesting his actions, and I hadn't yet learned to separate the actions from the being. To love the being and still judge the actions and be able to say no to the actions without closing my heart. So what I found in the work with the dying was that I was starting to fall in love with everybody I was working with, falling into love. And the more you open in love with a person, the more you're also loving them personally as well as in love, in the space of love with them. And I was working with this woman who was dying of AIDS about 1.5 years ago. And we fell deeply into love. The love opens you so that you're seeing the world from inside her, allowing her to see the world from inside you, and the two of you are in a space in which there is the passing show of death, and there's just the presence and the fullness of the moment of love. And I watched how long I was able to stay in that state into her death. And at what moment when she was dying did I pull back into my separateness? That I wasn't capable yet of dying with her, of dying in that level. I saw myself pull back into my separateness. And I see that's my work. That's the kind of work I do, just to share with you a moment. So the prison and the dying thing were the same project. Is this too much, or is it, you all okay? The prison and the dying work were the same thing, because take the dying work. I'm a person that says I want to get free, so I want to work with dying people as a vehicle for me to get free. Then there is somebody that is dying who understands what the game is, and they say, look, I want to work with my dying in order to get free. I want to become more conscious through this process of dying so that I don't have to die. Not that I don't have to physically die, but so that I won't die when I physically die. Now, take somebody that wants to awaken through dying and somebody that wants to awaken through helping them die and put them together. And find a building and put a group of these people together. What have you got is you've got an ashram where everybody's there in order to awaken. It just happens some of them are dying and some of them are helping them die. So it's not a hospice it's a hospice. It's an ashram that's serving as a hospice. Do you see the flip? It's the same flip in prison. You take a group of inmates. I used to say to a group, in your cell block, if all of you thought you were in a monastery where they feed you, give you a cell and clothes and tell you what to do all day, I mean, the fact that you were put here instead of chose to be here, that's just a head trip. You're here now. If you are here in a monastery to awaken, and all of you think that's what you're doing here, the only people left in prison are the guards. And we'll help them, you know, we'll do what we can for them. Right? And it's far out that at Bastra Prison, there is such a beautiful setup. And if any of you want to go and volunteer there, if you have any skills to bring there, they would be welcoming. And you would find an incredibly rich ashram there in which there are beautiful, beautiful people who are working on themselves, meditating, doing yoga, studying. And they're using their time, which is absurd time that is being given out of an irrational fear in the government's part. And if they sat there being frustrated by that, they'd eat their insides out. The interesting question I just say to an inmate, do you want to use your time to get beyond time? Or do you want to stay stuck in time? Are you doing time or are you being timeless? It's a fascinating issue. So those projects went along, and they still go. Stephen Levine took over the Dying Project, and Bo Lozov took over the Prison Project, and they still, Bo and Sita, and they still go. Stephen and Andrea. When we got caught in individualism, when you go outside of this culture and come back, you become very aware of what a personality cult we are. I mean, you don't have to read People magazine to know it. The amount of obsession with personality. It's interesting because in India, I live in villages in India. Like there's a 23-year-old guy that's just getting married. This was a few years back. He's just getting married. Marriage was arranged by his parents and the astrologer. And I said, have you met the girl? He said, I saw her for 5 minutes. I said, well, are you upset about this? You're going to live with her for the rest of your life? Is it concerning you? He said, no. I mean, he didn't even understand what I was talking about. Because his whole mind is developed in the world of role, not in the role of personality. She's going to move into their family. She's going to work with his mother. He's going to go into the business of the father. They will have, I mean, there was a whole structure. He's just living out the structure. It's like the way Japanese family structure used to be before they started to imitate us. And then you come back into this country and everybody's saying, what do I need? What do I want? My childhood was lousy, you know. I mean, I remember the Dalai Lama saying, when people were talking about guilt, he said, I don't even understand what that is. And it's only when you get outside of this culture that you appreciate how trapped we are in a plane. And it was interesting to me that I saw that although I was doing nice things, I was still Ram Dassing away. And so in '79, I had the chance to join with a group of people to create an organization. It's interesting, because of the way the pathology has unfolded, where we've thrown over all of the social structures we needed to give a web of meaning to our lives on the physical plane, like family, village, all those things. We then, since we need those kinds of things, we create the surrogates of them. So a lot of people, their AA group is a surrogate for the family they don't have, and they bond with the people there. And I thought, well, if you're going to bond around pathology, why couldn't you bond around compassion? So a group of us came together who all felt we wanted to do something for other human beings. Said, what do you say? Let's form a group and help each other do it and help each other get straight doing it. In other words, karma yoga. Because the realization is, when you try to do something for somebody else that's suffering and you're separate from them and feeling empathy and pity, the likelihood is that what you're going to do is going to create suffering as well as relieve suffering. Because there's a way of giving food in which you distance yourself from the person. Because you're so busy protecting yourself through pity, and you don't want to be like them, and you're giving them the food, and at the same moment you're distancing and reinforcing the fact of their helplessness. And boy, have we learned a lot about development work, about how to collaborate and partner with the people that you're working with and asking, what do you need? And what have you got to offer? And what have we got to offer? And let's work together. And putting these people on our board and doing the whole thing and trying to help each other stay straight. I mean, one of the problems when you start to deal with the blind, as we do in Nepal and India, and the starving and the violence in Guatemala, and we work on Pine Ridge with the Native Americans with alcohol fetal syndrome and stuff like that. When you start to do that, it gets heavy because there's so much of it. And many of you know that in the middle of our board meetings, wherever we hold them, usually out in the grass somewhere, but when we hold them, that we have a little puja table, a holy table. And on them are a pair of Groucho Marx glasses, you know, with the big eyebrows. And so if anybody uses the S word, serious, they have to put on the serious glasses. Because Wavy Gravy, who is a member of our board, who's a clown, insists that if you don't have a sense of humor, it just isn't funny. And the minute you lose your humor in the game, your very acts are creating more suffering. Can you see that the way in which you do an act, as well as that you do it, is important? It's important that you do it, but it's important how you do it. And therefore, since most of us get caught in being good doing it, it's a beautiful, fertile place to work on yourself. And what I've done, and I suggest you do, is I have surrounded myself with people that bust me. Because it's very easy in my role to get into arrogance, to get into taking for granted things because of fame and all that stuff. And it's great to have people around that say, hey, cut the shit around us. I mean, I treasure those people. I treasure them. And with the Seva Foundation, it took me 6 years before I recognized that their collective wisdom was wiser than my own. No one of them individually, they're all as neurotic as I am, but together we were wiser than I was. So I said, I admit you are all collectively wiser than I am. So then they voted I should get married. I said, I'm having second thoughts. I'd like to very shortly do a meditation and a little chant, but I'd like to just bring all this together a little bit. What now? Those of you that can see this button, somebody asked me what it is. It's President Clinton when he was a bearded hippie. And it says under it, my president. So. And what I feel now is, and I really am saying this in resonance with what has been said this weekend in this incredible meeting that we've all been privileged to be at. I'm saying that this is a fertile and exciting moment in history because of the negative pressure and the positive possibilities. It is the 60s without the naivete. It is a situation in which we're going to watch President Clinton, who, you know, even if we change the title of the song they play to Inhale to the Chief, since he assures us he didn't. What I want us to recognize is that he and Al Gore need all of the help that they can get, because their hearts are basically in the right place, but they are dealing in a power world that makes one's hair curl. And it's not good and evil, it's just people that are seeing the world differently, different perspectives. And the important thing is that we contribute individually and collectively in a way that doesn't perpetuate the polarization by not making it the good guys versus the bad guys. I once was talking to Jerry Brown, and he says, you know, you've got to realize the ship of state turns slowly. And I appreciate that we're going to see Clinton become more of a centrist. And I know, because I'm very connected to many friends who are part of his transition team and who have written the papers for him, I know how sensitive and compassionate policies are that are back there lurking. But I also realize how delicate the process of change is. And those of you that are expecting a dramatic game, you're going to lose it very quickly when you don't get it. When I came back from India a couple of weeks ago, or whenever that was, when I came back, I had been out of touch. I mean, except for a 2-minute thing on the BBC that's beamed to India. I came back just before the inauguration. And I looked at the magazines and newspapers, and I was battered by the degree of cynicism that exists in our society. And I just say, how do we immunize ourselves against that cynicism? We can do it 2 ways. One is that we can hang together to reassure ourselves that there is another reality and that the people that are caught in cynicism are in pain, and to love them and to, but by being with each other, having sangha, satsang, the community of shared awareness, like a weekend like this, we can help each other stay straight. That's what I said the Seva Foundation was for. But in the long run, you and I have to become it. Mahatma Gandhi said, my life is my message. And there is a way in which, when I sit down to meditate, I have to find the place in me where I can rest from where I see the cynicism as waves on the ocean. And for many of us, in order to find that place, you have to pull back from the marketplace for a moment, whether it's to a retreat center or to the country or to something. And then you come back into the fray. And I do that too. Last year I went off to French Polynesia to surf for a couple of months and paint. I play. And that's out of compassion for all things, I think. And at the same moment, I know that ultimately that thing, that faith, that connection has to be so deep in me that I eat the cynicism for lunch, that I consume it into myself, being right in the presence of the marketplace. I was just in India, in South India. I was there for a project. We're setting up an international community ophthalmology institute to train teams from Africa and Indonesia and all that about how to do eye programs to get rid of cataract blindness. And I was there to help set up the structure of the way the institute would work. The hospital that I was at is called the Aravind Eye Hospital. It's run by a man named Dr. Venkataswamy. Dr. Venkataswamy is an Indian man who was a professor of ophthalmology. When he was in his 20s, he was bedridden for 2 years with arthritis. He's severely crippled like this, his feet and his hands. He's had special instruments made so his hands can hold them for doing eye surgery. And he was a professor until 65 or so. Around the mid-70s, he got his family, he didn't have any money, but he got his brothers who had some money to put some money together, and they bought a house that had about 12 rooms in it, and he started a little hospital clinic where he could do eye surgery. There are in India 11 million people that are blind, that are waiting for a cataract operation that roughly takes 4 minutes and costs $30. Okay? And some of them will die blind. Most of them will die blind. Okay? So he started that, And through some, and I'll tell you about what it was, through some energy on his part, that was in 76. In 1993, he has in Aravind and nearby, in Madurai, he has the largest eye hospital in the world. They do 50,000 cataract surgeries a year, besides all the rest of the stuff they do with children and trachoma and xerophthalmia and things. And India and the World Bank have gotten together, going to loan $250 million to help India deal with its eye problems, and Aravind, being such a successful thing, becomes a central focus of this. So there's a meeting there for training hospital management in eye care, which is sponsored by the National Eye Institute of Washington, okay? So the head of the National Eye Institute is there, who's a man that gives away $350 million every year. I mean, the National Eye Institute is part of the National Health Program in the United States. And there are a lot of very high-powered players from the Indian government and all that. I was at this meeting for a week. That's one of the things, my assignments during that time. What I saw was all of these people, including the beautiful man from the National Eye Institute, who's a lovely man, their vision was like this. They saw the numbers, the problems. They said, we better just do this. We can't do this. Dr. Venkataswamy, on the other hand, who is deeply connected to the spiritual teachings of Sri Aurobindo, the teachings which specifically say that one surrenders and transforms oneself into the higher planes of reality, and then opens oneself and draws that energy through one in order to imbue the physical plane with divinity, sees the hospital and everything he's doing as that. That's the plane he's living on. And he says it is possible to take on the world's preventable and curable blindness. And we can do it. And not one of those people in the room says we can do it. And he doesn't flicker. And they all realize that he's qualitatively sitting in a place different than they are. Now, the reason it blows my mind to see it happening is because the Seva Foundation was originally built with a group of people, and they added on people like me, but the original group were the group that worked for the World Health Organization to eradicate smallpox. And smallpox is the only human disease that has been eradicated from the face of the earth. And when that idea was first put forth, everybody said, oh, that's out of the question. I mean, how are you going to do that? 35 countries, 5 billion house calls later. Bangladesh, India, Africa, the last case of smallpox gone. And it's transmitted human to human, so there's no more in the world. So all those pox and death and blindness and vaccinations that most of us had that were older, gone. Gone. And that was somebody sitting down with that kind of a vision. Now, Dr. V isn't doing it out of righteousness. He's doing it because he's stabilized himself in these other planes of consciousness in which he sees that this stuff is the manipulanda. It's the stuff to play with. And the stuff can be reorganized. He says, why can't healthcare be like McDonald's? He said, my God, in your country, you can go anywhere and get a hamburger. Except Jack in the Box these days. But you can go practically anywhere. He said, why can't healthcare be like that? Now, he's got a model in his head. He's not bulldozing. He's just holding the model because he's not vulnerable to these other forces. We have to be able to be instruments of holding the model of the many planes of consciousness, and then we have to be participants in a collaborative, participatory democracy. And we've got to realize that any place that you are, in any way you do it with whoever you do it, is part of the web of the collective consciousness. It's the way you take care of your children. It's the way you deal with the grocery checkout person. It's every part of the web is part of it. And when you bring to it less than an awareness of the many planes of consciousness, you are exacerbating the suffering of the game. And so you see the beauty of the individual work on yourself and the collective game that we think we are all playing. And I want to recommend that for your own strength, that you stand halfway between hope and hopelessness. That the minute you have the hope it's going to happen, you're standing on tiptoe and you can fall on your face. And the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, says very clearly, do what you do because it is in the way of things that you do it. It's your dharma. But be not attached to the fruits of the action, because you don't understand the mystery of the game. I don't, and you don't. And the mystery of the game may involve the end of this round of humanity on this plane for a little moment. In India, they deal with the yugas and kalpas, these vast amounts of time. And it's always interesting. They say, my guru once said to me, what are you getting so upset? It's the Kali Yuga. It's the Dark Age. Of course it's going to be like this. Now, the interesting question is, there's some difference in Hindu cosmology as to whether following the Kali Yuga, there is the Sat Yuga, meaning the thing we're all waiting for, which is where everybody's in truth, love, harmony, and beauty, or whether there is the Pralaya, where it all turns back into nothing. And then out of that, some time down the track, some 250 million years, or whatever it is, Shiva sits down again after doing the dance of the Pralaya, yawns, sits in meditation, and creates the whole thing out of his mind again. Now that seems like a major issue of whether it's all going to turn beautiful or turn into nothing. But if you get caught in that, you'll be immobilized with fear. So I recommend that you tune as deeply as you can, take the wisdom of this weekend, the richness of the possibility, listen to hear what work you have to do on yourself to become an instrument of compassion, of love, of equanimity, of beauty, of truth, of presence. Keep working on yourself, and since you can't wait till you're enlightened to help others, see, that's the problem. You've got to realize that your help is going to have in it all the impurities of your humanity. So you do what you can. So the way I do it is I work with others as a vehicle to work on myself. I work on myself as an offering to others. Hear how it goes, and you get the circle going, and you just keep working with it. A little meditation, is that all right? Now, I'm going to do a meditation in several parts so I can take you through a series of methods of meditation. And I'll tell you in advance, we're going to start with a relaxation, then I'm going to do a short thing of vipassana, or of concentration part of vipassana. And then we're going to go into a meditation practice from Tibetan Buddhism called Dzogchen that has some devotional component. And then we're going to go into working with the suffering around us. So it'll be a sequence of Western, Theravadan, Mahayana, Hindu schlock. I'm a great eclectic, and I may never get enlightened, but it's sure fun. So if you will get comfortable, and if you can have your head, neck, and chest in a reasonably straight line, it helps. But if you can't, don't worry, you can still get enlightened. Now, as Jackie has suggested, it's good to start with releasing tension, relaxing, releasing tension, fatigue. Had to listen to all these words. Just relax, let it go. You can do it with your breath. You can take in breath and let the breath be sort of like Drano or something. Breathe in and let it pour through your body, and then clean out all of the places there's cloggage in your shoulders or your neck or your heart or your belly or wherever. Just a few deep breaths where you really let go of whatever is lettable go of. If you can't let go of it, don't worry. Hang on to it. You can use it later. Now, as you've been told again and again, our minds are the root of the beauty and the horror of the situation. That with our thought forms, we create reality. It's one thing to understand that intellectually. It's another thing to directly experience that. Most of us in our education have been trained what to think about, not how to use the mind. So when you try to do a concentration exercise, it seems very strange at first. But let's try a little of it. In the abdomen, there's a muscle that moves just a little bit with each breath. When you breathe in, the muscle in the top of the abdomen goes up, rises, and when you breathe out, it falls. And let your awareness find that little place of movement. If you can't find the muscle, just any movement that's going on in the abdomen. Any rising or falling is useful. And bring your awareness to that little movement that's happening. If it helps, silently to yourself, each time in the breath, say rising. And each time you let out the breath, say falling. But focus on the direct experience in the abdomen. Now, the mind isn't just going to sit on the breath. It's going to float here and there. You'll start to be aware of sensations in your body, or thoughts, or sounds. When those arise and your awareness is drawn somewhere other than the breath, notice that it's been drawn away, and then once again, bring your awareness very gently back to the breath. There's no philosophy about this. It's just a simple quieting of the mind. You're not trying to stop the thoughts. You're really just trying to direct the awareness to stay with one thought, which is one sensation, which is the rising and the falling in the abdomen. Ride the breath as if you were riding a wave or riding a horse, just where it's such an intimate relationship between the awareness and the breath. So you're aware of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the in-breath, the beginning, middle, and the end of the out-breath, and the space between the out-breath and the in-breath, and the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. If you find yourself getting sleepy, just take a few intentional deep breaths and then go back to your natural breathing. Notice the quality of the breath. Is it short or long? Is it smooth or harsh? Is it a single thing or made up of many things? Is it liquid or is it solid? What does it feel like? become a connoisseur of that tiny muscle rising and falling. And every time the mind wanders, don't get upset. Just notice it and bring your awareness back to the breath. Just notice the way the awareness moves from the breath and flickers to here or there, to the knee or to a memory or a plan or a thought or a judgment. And if you do this for long enough, pretty soon you will see the whole web of your reality written in terms of where the mind goes away from the breath. Because even you yourself are just a set of concepts in the mind. And if you were staying with the breath deeply enough, there would just be the breath. There would be nobody breathing. I have at times done just this practice, this single practice, for 2 months, 17 hours a day. Just imagine how quiet the mind can get. But first it'll get wildly agitated, and then it'll quiet as it gets perfectly concentrated. Now let's use this concentration to help us in a visualization. I'd like you to bring into your mind now the image or feeling of some being to whom you attribute the qualities of wisdom, of love, of truth, of equanimity. It may be a Christ figure or a Buddha. It may be a saint. It may be somebody you've met. It might be a shaman. It may be somebody you know personally, or somebody you've read about, or somebody you've just held in your heart for a long time. I'd like you to imagine that that being is right above your head now, sitting right above your head. The peace. The beauty. The way in which the essence is truth. The compassion. I'd like to share with you at this moment the feeling of gratitude for the grace to know of such a being. So just experience appreciation that this lifetime you are allowed to be connected with such beauty and such a statement of living spirit. Now, let that being come down into your body so its head fills your head, its arms, your arms, its torso, your torso, its legs, your legs. As if your skin is now a shell that contains radiance, peace, love, truth. You have to set aside who you think you are to make space to become one with this being. For the wisdom mind of this being and your wisdom mind are inseparable. Experience your being now as this vast ocean, an ocean that spreads in every direction and embraces all things. And see all the phenomena that come into your mind and senses as waves rising on the ocean, part of the ocean, dissolving back into it. Catching your awareness for a moment, and then dissolving back. And once again, rest in the vast ocean of awareness. All phenomena rising, existing, dissolving back into itself, into the vast ocean. To rest in this ocean is to know the great perfection, is to be wisdom, is to be love, is to be the emptiness that is full. It contains all things, and yet is not contained by them. And let me direct your awareness within the vastness of the ocean of awareness to the suffering, of all beings who suffer anywhere, on this plane or on any plane. As you become aware of some suffering that comes to mind, whether it's a friend or it's the vast unknown sufferers in the world, See that suffering as a wave, draw it back into the ocean of love, of light. Start to work with your breath. You draw the suffering into the ocean with the in-breath. And in the out-breath, you surround that suffering with love, with healing energy, with truth. It's a dialogue between your inner being and all suffering, and it's all happening within your awareness. Each in-breath returning to the ocean, each out-breath going out to each individual place of suffering with a healing light. And finally, imagining all those beings everywhere within this vast ocean, as far as the mind can imagine. I will say 4 lines, and after each one, if it feels comfortable to you, we'll repeat it together. And feel your way into each of them as you say it. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. Beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. Lest you get left in this space, we are going to end with a song. You're going to do it in 6 parts. Many of you know this. It's very simple. Anybody can learn it, even me. It's got just 3 words to it: Jubilate, Deo, and Alleluia. Jubilate means jubilation. Deo means God or your pussycat or whatever you're comfortable thinking of as that being above your head. And Alleluia is Alleluia. Okay. Could be Jubilate, but we'll do Jubilate. Goes like this. Jubilate Deo, Jubilate Deo, Alleluia, Alleluia. Hallelujah. That's it. Okay. So we'll do it really slow. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Again. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Alleluia. Alleluia. Okay, now we'll start to put a little juice into it, all right? So it'll be a little faster now, and a little sharper, a little clearer, precise. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Still has to be crisper. I'm not going to take you on the road unless you tighten up your act. Okay, ready? Jubilate. Jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You got it? Everybody got it? If somebody's not sure, we'll do it once more. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now, we'll practice by dividing in half and see if we've got it. Okay, so we'll divide right down here. Here we go here. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hold it. We don't all have it, do we? See, I told you, you're slobs. Here we go. You got to really have it to make we got to do it in 6 parts, you know? Ready? Here we go. Let's do it together again. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, we'll start with this group this time. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Hallelujah. Jubilate. Great. Okay. Now, we divide across the middle of the room that way. That group is 1. This group's 2. This group's 3. That group is 4. That group is 5. That group is 6. There'll be no confusion because a 5 couldn't possibly think they were 6. So we're across the middle, right here, out there. And so these tables, these 2 rows of tables here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I must tell you that if you screw up, you ruin it for everybody, okay? I don't want you to get nervous, but I feel a little nervousness, so we're going to do it once more to make sure everybody's got it in there. Because once we start, we can't stop, and you got to stay very alert. No confusion now. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, hallelujah, hallelujah. Great, here we go. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo. Jubilate Deo, Jubilate Deo. Deo, jubilate, 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 jubilate. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Just be here now.